Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the video. I hope your day is going great. Mine's been really awesome, and today we have an exciting video. So we're going to be starting it off with Slasher, Fissure, and the LA Gladiators. So of course, guys, the saga continues. Slasher did an interview today, and he came out with a lot more new details about the situation, saying exactly why Fissure did get benched and how pretty much Fissure was just lying the whole time, trying to protect his own name, which honestly over time to me became very clear, and I know some of you guys had a tough time understanding that Fissure would want to protect his own name, but I think everybody is starting to realize it by now, and the fact that Fissure literally didn't mention the LA Gladiators or just anything about what happened when he joined the Seoul Dynasty really does prove that, Slasher was telling the truth, and that's what went down. But I can't really blame Fissure for lying after Slasher exposed him. Any player in that situation is going to try to protect their name so their value doesn't go down. I've mentioned this multiple times. But what I haven't talked about in the past is, was it actually the right decision for the Los Angeles Gladiators to bench Fissure before one of their biggest games ever? So in this video, after we talk about what Slasher said in his interview, we're going to more so focus on the LA Gladiators, look at their perspective, and decide should they have actually benched him for what he did. And then we're going to talk about Nomi from the San Francisco Shock. So IDDQD and Dak both came out, they posted statements. Nomi, though, he kind of stayed quiet for a few days, but he finally let out something on Twitter. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that, see what he's up to, and what he wants to do in the future. We're also going to be taking a look at a bunch of other little pieces of news at the end of the video, so if you guys are excited to get into this one, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to my channel for more daily videos. I upload Overwatch League, Overwatch World Cup content daily. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright, so the people that did the interview with Fissure is Overwatch Wire, part of USA Today. And it's actually really in-depth, and they talk about a lot of things, not just the Fissure and LA Gladiator situation, but also about player mental health, why Sigil left the Dells Field, and how Korean Overwatch players are not getting burnt out is absolutely insane, because the ones specifically in the Overwatch Korean World Cup are playing so much damn Overwatch without any breaks. It's incredible that they aren't burned out. Slasher honestly gives a lot of great insight on a lot of different topics in this interview. I would definitely check it out if I were you guys. Once again, it was done by Overwatch Wire, USA Today. But let's go ahead and focus more on the LA Gladiators and Fissure situation. And to note, so this interview was actually done 3 hours before Fissure was sent over to Seoul Dynasty. So unfortunately, this interview is actually still under the context of Fissure being a part of the LA Gladiators. But I'm sure Slasher knew Fissure was gone anyways. So this is what the interviewee said. Talking about Korean players, let's talk about one Korean player in particular, Fissure. Obviously, towards the end of the season, during the playoffs, you tweeted some stuff about him being unhappy with other members of the team. He kind of denied that and had some choice of words and angry emojis that he tweeted back at you. Now that some time has passed, we are using a format that's longer than 280 characters, unlike Twitter. What's your full understanding of that situation with Fissure? Why wasn't he playing? And here's what Slasher said in response. I stand by all the statements regarding Fissure and why he did not play. He had conflicts with the rest of the players on the team. He felt like he was the best player on the team, and for all the things considered, he kind of objectively was the best player, which I personally do agree with as well, guys. He was the best player. But saying he's the best player doesn't mean his teammates aren't good, because he actually had really good teammates. Surefour, Bishu, Void, Big Goose, Shaz, those guys are insane. But anyways, back into the statement, but there was a combination of issues. He was feeling like his teammates weren't trying enough at times, and that would upset him and make him volatile towards all of his teammates. Then there were other times when he would just shut down and would stop communicating. That was the main reason he didn't play, because right before the playoffs, he would stop communicating in scrims. The management and coaching staff decided it would be better if he did not play in those games. That is what I've said before, and that is what really happened. If you noticed in the back and forth between me and Fissure, Fissure did make a tweet one time, and he said that the organization would say something to back up his claims against his reporting. I will note that the tweet never came from the LA Gladiators in backing up Fissure's statements, because they were in conflict with Fissure. At that point, after I reported it, Fissure was really more concerned with dealing with me and the fans than trying to make a better relationship with the organization, which had been fractured before I reported what I did. So I stand by everything I said then, and I reiterate it now. That's what happened. The Gladiators never made that tweet to back up his statement. From what I hear, he would still rather get out of the Gladiators, like I said a few months ago. He would like to be traded to another team, and they are trying to work things out. Which again, this was 3 hours before the Seoul Dynasty trade, so Slasher was right once again. He did want to get traded, and he was traded. Back into the statement, obviously the Gladiators aren't going to want to give up Fissure for free. He is such a good player. He is, as far as Gladiators want him, contractually obligated for 1 more year, and the only way he'll be able to leave is if they trade him. Fissure would still like that. Wow, so Fissure was signed to a 2-year deal with the Gladiators. That's very interesting. And that gives us context about the other players on the Gladiators. They're probably signed to 2-year deals as well then. I do know that they have been trying to talk more in the offseason to see what potential possibilities are. But I still feel that him not being on the team would be a net benefit for both. Even if they were to work things out and they come to an agreement, yeah, things could be good next season considering what happened, but sources told me that he wanted to be on an all-Korean roster. That was a big part of it. I don't think that's going to be changed anytime soon. He's not going back to London, obviously. You know, New York, I would have said absolutely not before, but considering that they faltered in the playoffs, I would say anything is possible now. Also, considering they have 3 extra slots on their team, they're the only team to not have 12 players, unlike every Overwatch League team. So I think that's more of a possibility than before. But the main destination was Seoul. Miro had a lot of problems in the first season. Seoul had problems in the main tank area. It is the Korean Seoul team in the Overwatch League, and he would really like to go there. So the best case scenario for Fissure is for him to go to Seoul. I guess Slasher knew it, guys. He knows everything. That's what I'm saying. He's so trustworthy. His credibility is really good. He's got the sources. It really is just on what pieces Seoul can offer the LA Gladiators if they would be comfortable with an exchange. I don't think they straight up want 1-for-1 with Miro. That's not something the LA Gladiators want. I can't see Miro fitting in on the LA Gladiators, to be honest. There's no way. So that's kind of the situation. I stand by everything. One trades and free agents are open. I still see him leaving the Gladiators. And that's everything that Slasher said in this interview. I know it was a lot. They covered a ton of things, and it was definitely valuable information. It's just unfortunate that this happened 2 hours before the actual Fissure trade over to Seoul Dynasty. We probably could have got a lot more juice from Slasher, but it is what it is. And I pretty much agree with everything he said here. All of it makes sense. And it seems like Fissure just threw a hissy fit, man. He thought some of his players weren't trying hard enough, and his ego got the best of him. He thought, you know, I'm the best player on the team. These guys should be working harder than me so they can get on my level. And that came back and bit him in the ass because the LA Gladiators were like, you can't be acting like this. It's not good. It's not healthy for the team, especially if you're shutting down in scrims. So we're just going to sub you out for iRemix. And that is the ultimate question for this video. Should the LA Gladiators have subbed out Fissure for Remix because of what he did? So first things first, this is obviously just a tough situation for the LA Gladiators. They have a star player, someone who pretty much revitalized their team during Stage 1 going into Stage 2. Of course you do not want to sub him out. That's the last thing you want to do. But you have to take everything into account, not just the moment right now and the match that you're going to have to play in a week or so. You have to take into account your entire team's future. If you let Fissure's ego just completely take over and control your team and you let him play, that means you're giving in to him. What kind of organization and coaching staff are you if you're letting your players dictate what goes on? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. So I can completely understand why the LA Gladiators were like, all right, like this is a power struggle right now. And if we lose this power struggle, we're going to lose this power struggle forever. That means Fissure is going to completely take over, and then maybe even when Fissure ends up leaving, somebody like Bishu or just, you know, a random person on their team thinks, oh, well, Fissure did it, I'm going to do it now too. So in order for the LA Gladiators coaching staff and management to keep control over the team, they had to set an example of Fissure and show him and all the other players that if you want to act up, there will be consequences and you need to be a professional at all times. Of course, the LA Gladiators wanted to win Overwatch League Season 1. That's the biggest accomplishment ever. But they had to look at their team's future and understand that this is a power struggle. And if they lose, it could be very bad. So just because of that alone, I do think the LA Gladiators made the right decision. Going into Season 5, nobody's going to remember how Fissure was subbed out by the LA Gladiators and it ruined their season. Everybody's going to remember what happened in Season 4, 3, and 2. And if the LA Gladiators can prove themselves, then this will definitely be forgotten. So I do feel like the LA Gladiators did make the right decision, at least from an organizational standpoint. Now, if you want to focus just for Season 1, probably they made the wrong decision. They should have ran Fissure and then traded him right away after. But it's all about the long run, and it doesn't matter anymore. Fissure got his wishes. He got traded over to a full Korean roster. He's with Seoul Dynasty. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm not really going to talk about this situation anymore unless, like, big news happens and somebody on LA Gladiators just blows the door open and says everything that happened. That would be insane, and I do hope that happens. It might. You never know. But that's pretty much it for this topic. LA Gladiators made the best long-term decision and the worst short-term decision. And I do think that the long-term decision is the smartest, so good for them. And now let's move on to the second part of this video and talk about Nomi and what he said on Twitter. So as I said, he was the only one who didn't say anything from the San Francisco Shock releases. But he finally broke silence and he said this: "People have been asking what is next for me. I will continue to practice and grind Overwatch every day. I want to compete for a main tank spot on Overwatch League, and I have what it takes to do it." Thank you so much to the San Francisco Shock fans for all the support on this amazing journey. You people are amazing, and it's one of the saddest things about not being a part of the Shock family. You guys always made me feel home away from home. Aw, that's sweet from Nomi. It seems like he really did like the San Francisco Shock fans, and I'm happy to hear that he still wants to continue to try to compete in the Overwatch League. I definitely think there's a chance that he could make a roster as a sub-main tank, and you never know, maybe he could prove himself. He does have a decent track record. Unfortunately, he didn't look that great at the beginning of the season, but I do think there were bigger problems on the San Francisco Shock, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got another opportunity. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe for more daily content. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys have a great night, and I'm out of here. Peace.